Hello everybody, welcome to Mining Now. We are here at CIM 2024 in Vancouver. Today we've got a part 2 guest and it is Mike Cinnamond. He is currently the Senior Vice President and CFO with B2Gold Corp. He is also the current CIM President. Welcome to the show, Mike. And I just wanted to touch on, so you've got some pretty vast experience here. It looks like you started, so you're a partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers.
That's correct.
And then you moved into the role with B2Gold?
That's right. B2Gold was one of my clients.
Okay.
I was an audit partner, so B2Gold and its predecessor, Bema, were a client of mine.
Bema,
clients of mine. So then when the vacancy came at the CFO level, I took the job.
Okay, fantastic. Were you based in, so where are you based now?
We're based here in Vancouver. I'm from Belfast, Northern Ireland originally.
Okay.
And, but we ended up in Vancouver in 1997. And at that time, Bema Gold was still in operation. That's a predecessor company to B2. So
okay.
that was one of my clients then. And Bema, back in those days, it was working its way out of something really great.
Okay.
It had started as an exploration or a sort of expediting company, and it had built a number of mines over the years, but it was building a flagship mine in Russia called Kupol.
Okay.
And so they were well on their way to having 5 mines under their belt and 1 million ounces production when they were bought out by a company called Kinross in 2006. And then the reason that B2Gold is called B2 is because it's Bema again.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So Bema,
that's the line. Okay.
Bema basically changed the name on the door. They kept almost all senior management, almost everyone that was working there already stayed.
Yeah.
The guys that were still building Kupol went over with Kinross, but the rest of sort of Bema stayed. Became B2, and then B2 went on its own journey. It started as an exploration company with some properties that had spun out as part of the Bema deal.
Okay.
And then over time, B2 ended up with 5 mines and close to 1 million ounce production. It bought a couple of mines in Nicaragua, that really set them on their way as a producer. Then it acquired a mine called Masbate in the Philippines that let B2 grow in size and give it more economic firepower to go and get financing. Then built the Otjikoto mine in Namibia. And then we ended up with flagship mine, the Fekola mine in Mali. So very similar story. It took Bema kind of 25 years to get there.
Yeah.
B2 did it in less than 15, getting to that sort of 5 mines and 1 million ounce plus.
Wow.
And then most recently, B2's next flagship project is the Goose mine up in Nunavut. So we finally got something in Canada.
Nice.
After years of being all around the world.
I was actually talking to Wheaton Precious Metals earlier, and they mentioned that project as well.
Yes, that's right. They have a stream. They had funded the predecessor. We bought a company called Sabina.
Okay.
In order to get the Goose project, and Sabina had done financing, part of which was with Wheaton.
Okay.
Who we know very well. We know Randy and Gary Brown very well.
Fantastic. I guess being now that you're with the CFO role with B2Gold, I guess, is there any like upcoming M&A activity that's happening? Is there things like that you can talk about? Probably stuff that's already publicly disclosed, of course.
Yeah, well, I won't talk about B2 so much. If it's not publicly disclosed, we won't be talking about it here. But obviously, we did just do M&A because we bought Sabina.
Right.
Gold, and with the Sabina acquisition, we got the Goose project. But maybe give a couple of thoughts on M&A generally, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, M&A is clearly a growing theme. We've seen a lot of it over the past few years. You've seen some large transactions where you got Newmont and our Gold Corp combining, and then obviously Barrick and Randgold. So that created some of the very large gold mining companies that are out there now. But we're definitely seeing more activity for the smaller ones, and I think you're likely to see more of it.
Okay.
Whenever we talk to our investors, the message from them is they want to see more consolidation of single asset companies.
Oh, is that what they're saying?
Yeah, I think they see it for 2 or 3 reasons. One, you get rid of geopolitical risk. Are you diluted because you have more operations under one umbrella? And then also, I think there's synergies. You don't need 5 management teams when you've got 5 assets under one management team.
Yeah,
and so that's kind of an investor view of the world. And we're kind of at if you look at where we are in the market now, metals prices have had a run. For gold, it's great.
Yeah.
All-time highs.
Yeah.
Got to love it.
Yeah.
And usually when you see prices run up like this, I think you start seeing more M&A action. And but you've also, I think metals prices maybe go both ways, because at higher prices, everyone loves their project more.
Right.
And maybe you have less appetite from existing management teams to sell. Right. But really, it's always about doing what's best for the company, both for the current holders of the asset, the company that you're looking at, and also for the company acquiring. Do the right things so ultimately shareholders win. But yeah, so I think there's definitely M&A on the way. And from a B2 point of view, we're building Sabina, or the Goose project up in Nunavut, so that's our current construction project. We actually have another project in the wings called Gramalote down in Colombia.
Oh, okay.
That was one of the very first B2 projects that was there at the exploration stage. We've held it all the way through.
Oh, okay.
It was a joint venture with Anglo Gold Ashanti, but we've now acquired Anglo's 50% interest, so now we hold the project 100%.
Are you seeing a lot of opportunity down in that? Well, obviously there's that mine, but is there going to be a lot of opportunities coming up in Colombia as well?
I think Colombia was a hot tamale a while ago.
Yeah.
But you did see several mines built, and there's interest in the jurisdiction. I think with the change in government.
Okay.
More recently, there was maybe a little more concern about what was going to happen in the future. But from our point of view, the Gramalote project, we already have a mining permit, right? So that's the key concern, and that's done.
Oh, okay.
But for us, what we need to do is it's a relatively low grade deposit, so we're revisiting that with a new feasibility study, and we want to see, can we make a smaller but higher grade, more profitable project out of it? So that's key.
Yeah.
So from an M&A perspective, we're building the project we've got now. We've got one in the wings, and also in Mali, we've got projects there at Fekola, an expansion of the existing Fekola operations to what we call Fekola Regional, which is bringing some new licenses online. We still need to get mining permits for those, but we've built everything. The infrastructure's there, so we've got things in our pipeline to keep us busy.
Yeah.
But ultimately, from a management point of view, we still believe in being a growth company. Like I described, Bema grew very successfully.
Yeah.
B2's grown very successfully. And I think we still have an appetite to grow the company, but they got to be the right kind of transactions.
Let's talk about our Heavy Industry World Tour, brought to you by Sabina Equipment, supplying mining equipment worldwide. And Corporate Traveler Canada, helping companies travel the globe simpler, faster, easier. We are heading to events across North America and Australia and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsman.com to be part of Crownsman's Heavy Industry World Tour. The mining industry is navigating a significant transformation driven by electrification, critical mineral dependency, and net zero targets. But balancing daily operations and capital projects can be overwhelming. Burns & McDonnell is your trusted EPC partner, supporting projects from concept to completion. With more than 125 years of experience, they stand ready to help the mining industry meet the demands of the energy transition. Visit burnsmcd.com to learn more. Did you know cementitious binders can be responsible for up to 70% of the total GHG footprint of mine backfilling processes? Now you can replace up to 50% of the binder in your mine backfill operations with Graybond, Graymond's new low-carbon cementitious binder. This lime-based alternative binder maintains a 40 to 70% lower GHG footprint compared to typical cement and can adapt to varying mine conditions without compromising performance. Learn more about Graybond at graybond.com. Use drone data to map, measure, and manage your work sites with survey-grade accuracy. Propeller transforms your photogrammetry and LiDAR surveys into a realistic, interactive 3D map. That map is where collaboration happens and accuracy wins every time. It's a cloud-based workspace for project teams to measure and manage their reality in real time from any device. With survey data, designs, measurements, and media in one place, the right data is always ready to go. It's time to replace rework with great work and make great work the status quo. Visit propelleraero.com to learn more.
Do you look, like, on the financial side with your role, do you look at, like, maybe like more of these, I guess it'd still be juniors, but that are kind of more advanced in their exploration?
We're actually we look at it all across the board. We were an exploration company ourselves. We know what it's like, and I think twice we've been an exploration company as Bema and then as B2. So
yeah, that's interesting.
I think the feedback we get often is that we're pretty reasonable to deal with as a company because we know what it's like. Yeah. And so we're definitely interested in early stage properties if we think they have real potential. So for instance, we took a couple of strategic investments, 9.9% investments. One of them is Snowline.
Okay.
So I'm sure you know is probably the hottest exploration project in Canada.
Amazingly, I haven't heard of Snowline.
Snowline. You want to hear about Snowline. So we really like that. We think that has real potential, that district. And we think the Yukon's definitely keen to see more mining investments. So infrastructure and roads in different story maybe, but
Right.
long term,
Yeah.
you go wherever the projects are. And
I know, like Hecla and the silver play, they've got the new Keno Hill going in. So
that's right.
you're hearing a lot about the Yukon again all of a sudden.
Yeah. I used to work on that when it was Alexco, actually.
Oh,
Keno
did
Hill.
you?
Keno Hill has at least 12 people living there,
Oh,
the big city.
big city.
Yeah. So the other one we have, we've got Snowline, and we've got an interest in Matador out in Newfoundland.
Okay.
Which again is a project that we think that has great potential. So Canada has great exploration potential.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's important. It's actually a key theme here in this CIM conference. So I have to give it a shameless plug, of course.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
it's the conference here. One of the focuses or the main focuses is like brand Canada. Like, what's Canada's critical advantage?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things you have to say it is endowed with mineralization. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of metals here, lots of mining commodities, and gold is one of them. And we just have to make sure that we optimize how we advance those projects and get them built. But definitely, it's a good jurisdiction to be in. It's well understood, good regulatory environment, and we just have to shorten the time it takes from finding something to building it.
That 18-year average, from what I keep hearing, that's where people, I think that there seems to be a theme in that, like, how do we get that shortened now?
Yeah, well, the classic was from discovery to being built. It was 10 years, but that's pretty short when you go through all the sort of permitting process, environmental processes that you have to do. But it's definitely, I think if you look at Canada relative to the rest of the world, we definitely have some stability here.
Yes.
And a long history of mining that we really have to make the most of.
Yeah, are you seeing, like, on that side of it, like with like obviously a tier 1 deposit is a great discovery. What are certain, like, challenges that you think are facing the industry right now? Like, is there some that stand out in that regard?
I think if you look at general ones, so geopolitical risk is one. If you look globally, mining is a global business. You go where the deposits are; that you can't bring them to you, and then you have commodity risks. That certain commodities going out of favor depending on consumption. Yeah, obviously, right now it's a good market for most commodity prices. Inflation's been an issue over the last few years as we've gone through this period where interest rates are growing. Yeah, as lots of economies around the world tried to curb inflation. I mean, there's the view that we're almost there and it's time to turn and maybe start lowering rates, but it seems like we're still up there. Inflation is still running, but not increasing like we saw, but kind of in the ballpark of where it's been. Length of time from permitting to operation, these are issues as we talked about, and globally, some places are harder than others.
Have you found in, like, other countries, is there some places that are similar and some places that are much quicker? Like, with your experience around the world?
I think it varies. Like, certainly, we've looked around West Africa for a while. They had most of those West African states have their own mining codes, and they have mining conventions, and typically speaking, you've been able to move things along fairly quickly. Now, more recently, it's taken a little longer. Yeah. Canada, if you look at BC, had a long, rich history of mining. There are still new mines being built here, but they're not as quick. Not as many and as quickly as maybe they used to be. So each jurisdiction is different. Yes. And what we found as we look around the world in the emerging market side, that if you look at places like Uzbekistan, you're getting a place that's coming out from formerly a Soviet state to be in their own state, and they've got their own rules and they're establishing their own codes, but they're just not quite. They just haven't gotten to the point where it's all in place and everyone understands how the system works. So I think you're seeing that around the world because countries are very mindful of their economic endowment through commodities, and they need to make the most of them. So other things maybe we haven't talked about. So workforce is an issue. There's an aging workforce. Yeah,
you hear that a lot.
And there's also whether the next generation, the perception of mining is like there's a public perception of mining as a business, and then there's a perception, is it a place that you want to be employed? And I think those are both things that can be easily addressed through education. Yeah, right?
You think that's like the big part of it, like the education, the younger workforce?
Absolutely. And again, another big focus of CIM here as we go forward, as we look at our strategic direction, is really to make sure we educate the public in general about the need for metals, where they come from, what we need them for, but also about the value that mining brings. Because, there was a slogan here that the Mining Association of BC had: mining builds communities. So if you go up north in BC here, it's a commodity based province, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's forestry or mining, and everyone who works up there knows what generated the economy and feeds the families and makes them
Definitely.
prosperous. And
Yeah.
so I think CM and others have to do their best to just remind the public of that and get the buy-in to it. It's a solid industry that is well run. It's a well run business, and then we have to do the same for the workforce. We have to show them how maybe it fits with their global values.
Yeah.
You know, they are good jobs. There's jobs at all stages of this business. From there are many different facets to it. Like I'm on the finance side. There's operations side.
Yeah.
But there's so much that they can do, and the job multiplier of a business like mining is something like 3 to 5 to 1 in the locations that you're in. So I think education is the key, and then encouraging young people to come in. Again, a CIM initiative, they really want to engage with the students and the workforce. B2 does that. We support young mining professionals scholarships, and CIM does a lot of CIM's constituent parts do a lot of that, supporting young people and young professionals. So
does B2Gold, like with those scholarships, so you're working directly with universities then?
For
those?
Yeah, or we award them to students. You can
yeah.
apply for them.
Nice.
And CM does the same thing, and also CM also has some initiatives where you support people past being a student. You're actually following them into their career as young professionals.
Right.
Like it doesn't finish when you're a student.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's one of the things that CIM is. It is a forum for people to get together, and you share best practices and technical knowledge, but you also get to see each other. There's that kind of interaction with people that we're all human, so people need that. And
definitely.
And it's a support thing, and it also it helps mentor people and produces better professionals.
Yeah, that's a great. You hear that a lot. I think the other thing too, and what I've seen in a lot of episodes is people like promoting this health and safety aspect of it. I think that we're kind of, especially in Canada, way past those days. There's so much initiative on the safety front.
Absolutely. You know, there's lots of things that are a focus. Health and safety is one, for sure, right? Safety's always been a key metric, and you always want your employees to come home safe. But now you see more investors paying attention to it as well. You know, they have their own compliance function, and rightly so. It's a key. Again, CIM, that's one of the things that they really focus on, safety and recognition. I was just at the JT Rhino Awards last night, which are safety awards, which recognize excellence in safety. So the winners, we had 3 trophies and 7 people won it. And you go, well, how does that work? And I should know, I'm a CFO, so I should probably understand the math better.
Yeah.
But the reason is the criteria are, if you got 0 instances, you're all equal. So they had 7.
Phenomenal.
0 lost time accidents or injuries. So that's what we want. And mining is a very safe business that way. And the other one, you know, if you look at safety, the ESG, focus on ESG generally is a very, it's a major element of what companies have to address and deal with, and make sure that they've got the right policies in place and that they're reporting what they need to report.
That goes back to the community aspect too a lot, right?
It goes back. It started off as social license, I think,
then,
but now it encompasses so much more than that. Now you got environmental, social license. It's how you act. It's the policies you have in place for your workforce. It's how you interact. It's a dialogue you have.
Yeah,
and that's a key thing. And if you mentioned you talked to the World Gold Council yesterday, well, Randy Smallwood was the chair of the World Gold Council. Sorry, you talked to Wheaton Precious Metals. Randy was Randy was the chair of the World Gold Council, though.
Oh, okay.
And you know, they have the responsible gold mining principles, and just about all the bigger gold companies are signed up to them.
Okay.
And that's a bunch of standards that you lay out and say how you're going to interact and how you're going to deal with things, and how you measure yourself. Because in the end, you've got to be audited now, you got to be accountable. You got to be able to show that whatever you said you were going to do, that you can do. And then finally, you know, it makes me think of another thing that's really, it's very much in the public eye. If you're looking at the environmental side, is zero carbon.
Yeah.
Right. So can you have a zero carbon mine? I think most mining companies will say yes. You know, if you're signed up to the responsible gold mining principles, then by 2050 You have to figure out how to get there. I think most companies have probably said something like there'll be 30% reduced from current carbon levels by 2030 because I think they can see how to get there.
Yeah.
Right now with the technology that we do have. So if you take B2Gold's example, I think we've been leaders in solar.
Yeah.
We have solar farms and solar energy down in Namibia and in Fekola. We got one of the largest integrated solar facilities in West Africa. We're looking at wind power up north in the Arctic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just to see. But to get from that 30% reduction to the 100% reduction, there has to be innovation, and we have to decide what is next. So I was just at a talk here at lunchtime. You know, one of the things that you got to look more at recycling. How do producers of metals get more integrated in the chain with the end users to recycle in order to use less energy to produce or reproduce more product. So we'll see where that goes. I think everyone's committed to do it. And you don't want to say fake it till you make it. So you lay out what your goals are by the time period that you think you can meet it. But more has to happen to get there, right? And maybe we'll get mini nuclear, right? There's a lot of talk of that. Mini reactors.
If we keep bringing it up too, it won't seem as scary, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
I've always nuclear. We don't need to spend too much time on it but that seems like for like the mining operations for that clean power. If they can do it in that mini way for these operations, that will be a game changer. Oh,
absolutely. If you look at a mining operation, it's typically for us fuel to generate either to power your fleet, if it's a diesel fleet, or to power your generators, typically HFO, heavy fuel oil.
Yeah.
It's close to 30% of your cost, most likely, somewhere in that 25 to 30%.
Yeah.
If you had a power source on site that wasn't drawing all that, think of all the energy saved by not having to move all that fuel product.
Yeah.
And then you're not generating the emissions,
well,
everything, the carbon emissions that you have from
people say, like, we've got
fuel.
Clean hydropower, but man, if you don't even have to use that anymore for powering these operations, especially here in Canada, you see some of the big mining operations in like Quebec and Ontario. If you could get that away from even hydro, that would be, like you're saying, it would be a massive cost savings.
Well, you got to think, you're asking the wrong guy here. I'm dwelling way out of my comfort zone and talking about this level of fuel technology, but for sure, I know what it costs, and I know how much is consumed in existing ops. You got to think if there's a different format and a different source, you could definitely save a lot of hydrocarbons and a lot of money.
Yeah. I guess to go back to, I guess, your experience the last year of CIM, maybe just because, of course, more shameless plugs. In being the president, what have you learned throughout that process? What did it entail in the last year?
Well, maybe can I give you? It'd be good if I can give you an overview of how I got into it to give you an idea of how it
That'd be
came.
Awesome.
So ultimately, I was asked many years ago would I become the treasurer of the local CIM. Like CIM's there's a central national office based in Montreal.
Yep.
There's 11 societies. Under that, societies are kind of specialized in certain technical areas, and then there's branches all across the country, like it's an umbrella organization. So I got involved with the Vancouver branch. I think it was a guy called Bill Stanley had asked my old employer at PwC, could he find someone to be the treasurer? So as a young manager, I said, for sure.
Yeah.
And that was more than 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So then I was a treasurer, and then I was deputy chair, and then I was chair of the local branch. I used to organize the talks, and you get a network. And I started off, I did it because I wanted a network. When you're in public practice like that, you need clients, and network's what you need to get them. But then I got involved. So remember that part, though, about Bill Stanley. So he was there to start. So then over the years, I did more and more things. I did them at the national level. I was like the finance chair of the National Council, and I was a director. And then I became president. And it's a 4-year slate because you got a couple of years running so that you learn how it's working and what the issues are. And then a year doing it, and then a year run out so that you don't lose your experience straight away.
Right.
and I've loved it. It's a vibrant organization. It's mostly, there's a small national staff, less than 40 people.
Yeah.
But it's got 5,000-6,000 members plus.
Wow.
Across the country, and they're all volunteers. So imagine running all the conferences that get run. Like it's a volunteer panel that planned this conference. with help from the national office. But
Right.
look at all the things they achieve, and it's because they believe in it.
Yeah.
They believe in the industry, and they believe in the sort of ethos of sharing knowledge and getting together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I've loved it, right? And so one thing I'll tell you, every year they do a past presidents dinner, right? So
Okay.
I'm not quite past president. I will be 2 days from now.
Yeah.
But I hosted it at my house on Saturday night. And guess who was there?
Bill Stanley.
Bill Stanley, because he's a former president of CIM. So it was a kind of neat loop. And it was great to see him.
Yeah.
And kind of like what I've learned that it's the power of focusing on things you need to do. Like if you need to choose a small number of things and focus to try and get them done, you get to set as president kind of your key objectives. So
Okay, yeah.
and then you go through. But I think we're working on making it stronger. We celebrated 125 years of CM last year.
Unreal.
That was, funnily enough, that was one of my key objectives, and I was quite good at celebrating. And in fact, I see another former CM president coming in now.
Yeah.
Roy Slack, who's also very good at drinking beer. So he's multi-talented.
He is.
And so so we set the things, goals like not just celebrating birthday, but updating the systems, celebrating or enhancing the strength of the organization. But for me, the thing I liked the best was just getting out and seeing everybody.
Yeah.
Right. So that it's that togetherness part, and you have to be awed by how much a group of volunteers can achieve.
It's pretty
with support
pretty
from
incredible.
the national office.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I think that's a good place to leave it. I do like to ask at the end of each one of these, is there anything that we didn't cover that would be important for people to know, whether it's through CIM or B2Gold? Is there anything that we may have missed that you definitely want to share?
Let me think about that. Well, maybe, I just say that we talked about the challenges in the industry, but there's a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the things we've seen right now is I think we've got historically high commodity prices.
Yes.
If you look back in the years I've been in Canada, so I've only been here since 97. So
Okay.
I didn't know anything about mining before then. Well, some might argue I still don't. But however,
no.
Assuming I'm
you're an
faking
expert. You're an expert.
as we run through, you've seen some bull runs early in the 2000s. There were troughs and then bull runs, and then we had the financial crisis. And during the financial crisis or post-financial crisis, mining companies really rebuilt themselves. I mean, you did still see commodity price strengths, but they delevered themselves, right?
Right.
They looked at the operations they had and they made themselves stronger, right? So, and we are all enjoying the benefit of that now, because that's what an industry should do. They've done M&A using that, and maybe it hadn't worked out, and let prices run too much. So the industry kind of rebuilt itself and looked good. So it should be poised for a great run, and you would think the equities reflect it. But what you see right now is historically high commodities like gold price, but the equities haven't followed it, right? The equities haven't run the same way. And I think it's because there are more than quite a few reasons why probably, but the biggest one right now is we've made ourselves more efficient. We've seen inflation run a bit. We've got these great commodity prices. Now we need to see the benefit of those higher prices flow down to the bottom line. And then I think we'll pique more interest in the investment community and what mining companies like gold mining are doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. As that flows, as more of that profit starts to show up, everybody starts going, oh, actually, let's jump in.
And then if we try really hard, we can get gold in as a critical mineral.
It should be. Why not?
Why not? It's a mainstay. It
support
underlies
that.
many economies. So
why not?
Not?
Absolutely. That's actually a good point. They don't list it under there.
No, not yet.
Not yet, but we're going to change that.
But you
soon.
can change that.
Yeah. I'll take on the full responsibility. Yeah, that is interesting though. But yeah, it's exciting to see the new technology. I think with the innovation technology from the guests we're talking to, the one thing that's good, I think it allows for more exploration in possibly like lower grade operations too, where it can be done at like really efficiently and still make really good money. Yeah,
that's a good point. Like, higher prices make things more profitable or more interesting. It's also, I think it's another point actually to raise about how the industry's changed or what it's doing. If you look at what's happening right now, we talked about M&A earlier. So bigger companies are using M&A to acquire de-risk projects, right? So projects that have been brought forward, explored, designed, developed, permitted.
Yeah.
And then that's, if you like the project, that's a relatively lower risk proposition to step in and acquire it at that point. But we need bigger companies to be the investors to develop these things. If we want to keep our industry moving forward
Yeah.
and bring new projects online. It's the larger companies that have historically been the nurseries for those projects
True.
that have to continue to be those nurseries, because one of the other things used to happen was exploration companies could raise money, equity, to do the exploring, and then the larger companies would come along and acquire them at the exploration stage. But the explorers can't raise cash the way they used to, so there's less activity there. And the bigger
Right.
companies are maybe sitting back too much on M&A and not engaging at early stage. And that's why I come back to one of the questions you asked me earlier. Where's B2 in the chain? Well, we're always looking to see what's out there, but we're definitely still interested in the greenfields, and that's why we took some of those strategic investments in some earlier stage projects, because that's what you got to do.
That is a good point.
To keep moving it forward.
Yeah, I think that's going to be huge, and I guess if those equities go up, it probably gives more opportunities as well to kind of be that nursery for more of these projects.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is what's neat. That's kind of the vicious cycle. It always is in for the boom bust. I mean, you've got to find new projects to keep up with demand, especially now with the critical mineral phase and with gold demand probably going up significantly over the next 10 years.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of central bank buying, and if you look at the gold price, if you look at where the interest rates are now and where the gold price is, like the interest rates should have hurt the gold. If you follow the traditional model, it should have hurt gold price more, and it hasn't. It doesn't seem to want to break below $2,000. In fact, and now it's living up at historical highs. So you've got to hope and think that if interest rates the Fed start to cut it, that you'll see gold run.
Yeah, that's probably a great place to leave it. Thanks again, Mike, for joining. Actually, quickly, for people wanting more information about B2Gold, CIM, and yourself, what's the best way to connect?
Well, we've got a website. So you can look us up, www.b2gold.com. You can look us up. We got a website with lots of information on there.
Perfect.
About our projects. And then for CIM, I guess you can contact me on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
Right?
We love LinkedIn.
My address is there. Yeah,
Yep.
you like LinkedIn?
Yep.
Or you can send a note to the national office. And
sounds good.
They can get in touch.
Your B2Gold ticker is?
BTO.
BTO?
BTO or BTG, depending.
BTO or BTG?
Or US, yeah.
Okay, perfect. We'll link to everything in the notes as well, so we're good there.
Okay.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of Mining Now at CIM Vancouver 2024. And please subscribe to Crowns and Partners on YouTube. Also, you can follow us on LinkedIn, Crowns and Partners, and Mining Now. And we will see you next time. Thank you for watching.